What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. Today we are talking about prepping your Jeep Gladiator for the winter months. Regardless of where you live, it's a good idea to have a couple of these things in store or prepped before the cold weather sets in. And so today I'm going to go over what I typically do to prep my Jeep Gladiator for the winter. So the first thing I typically do is I get what's under the hood all straightened up, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about. So one of the things I do, because I live out on the farms, is I've got a ton of rodents, and I need rodent repellent to keep them from chewing up my engine covers and all the other things like wiring. So I always just put a rodent repellent on top, away from anything that gets super hot. If it's plastic, that's a pretty good place to be. And so I just lay that there, and as you can see so far, it's done real well. All right, one other thing that I unfortunately found out the hard way with another vehicle is making sure you swap out your windshield wiper fluid. If you have your summer mix in, make sure you're at least adding in a little bit of winter mix where your cold temperatures for your region, your windshield wiper fluid will still work and not freeze. If you don't know where to find it, it's right here on the side. So those two things are pretty much all you need to worry about for under your hood for winter prep. And going through this video, it also kind of depends on what region of the world you're in. And so we're talking about the Midwest, places where it gets snow, places where we get ice on the roads. So that's what I typically prepare for. Before we hop into what I put inside the Jeep and have with us on the road, you want to check your tires. If you're looking at your tires and you see them and you think they need to be a little tire inspector here. She's checking the tires, folks. Yeah, you're getting your Jeep ready to go. Check the other one. Check the other one. Our tire inspector is leaving the work scene. But what I was saying was you need to be checking your tires, because if your tires are anywhere close to being bald or needing replacement, then you want to go ahead and do that before winter sets in and that weather gets here. Because the last thing you want to be worrying about in the winter is if you're going to slide on top of snow or not have enough traction because your tires needed replacing and you didn't do it beforehand. So just check those before winter sets in.
Jeep. Can you say Jeep? Can you say Jeep? Jeep. Jeep.
So as you're prepping for winter, I always typically check my windshield wipers as well, and I make sure that they are in pretty good condition. If not, I go ahead and replace them. A little fun fact, if you shop at O'Reilly's or you have O'Reilly's Auto Parts in your area, they typically do a buy one, get one on Black Friday. So as we talk about the exterior, one of the things people often forget about until they have their first spin out or off in the ditch moment in the winter is they forget to put weight in the bed. So with the Jeep Gladiator, because it is a pickup truck and most of your weight sits up front where the engine is, and there's not a lot of weight on your rear drive axle when you're not in four-wheel drive, it is a really good idea to get some sand or cinder blocks to throw in the back of your truck to add some weight onto that drive axle so you get a little bit more traction when you're in two-wheel drive. That is something you can pick up at Lowe's or Home Depot, or oftentimes you can find some old sandbags around the house that you can throw in the back. That's what I typically do, and I wait till we start getting some actual winter weather before I throw that in to help save on some of that gas mileage that will be lost when you add that extra weight in. And while this is not necessary, it's something I like to do in the winter is I add my canvas to the top of my bed rack so I can create a homemade topper that allows for a little bit of coverage in my bed. By no means is it waterproof, is it water resistant, but it does help keep things a little bit more secure and keep some of that winter weather out of the bed when it does come in. So if you have a bed rack and you want to secure a topper like this that's definitely not waterproof, I go to Harbor Freight where you can pick up this canvas. They even have tarps that do last pretty well through the winter season. All right, so this is, in my opinion, the most important part, is what do you add to your Jeep? What kind of gear do you take with you whenever you're doing things in the winter? And for me, it comes down to safety and just being smart for when you have an emergency, that you'll be okay and you have the things that you need to be fine through that emergency. And so I'll go through my list, and by no means is this an exhaustive list, but I'm also just looking at this from a daily driving standpoint and what I like to have in the Jeep should I need it, or if I run across somebody that needs help, they could definitely use some of the things that I keep in my Jeep. So let's go ahead and show you what I've got in the truck right now. So the first thing that I like to keep under my back seat during the winter is a cold weather blanket in case you break down, and warm weather gear like a hat and a set of gloves. And while it's not necessarily in the Jeep, this Carhartt jacket or another jacket like it typically stays in the Jeep during the winter season so that I have an extra jacket. Typically, I have my own jacket when I'm driving, but in the event that a passenger forgets one or we break down and we need the blanket and the hat, we also have a warm weather jacket to keep our core warm while we wait for gas or something else to come where we can then heat up the Jeep on our own. So now that we've gone over what we need or what our passengers may need, let's go over what the Jeep may need in the event that we get stuck or have an emergency. So first and foremost, if you don't have an ice scraper in your vehicle, I definitely recommend having one of these. I also have a second one in my house so that way I don't have to open my vehicle to get to it and then scrape off in the event that the vehicle is completely iced in. If you don't have a scraper, definitely pick up one of those. And so right next to our scraper, we have a battery pack. If you don't have a battery pack that could jumpstart your vehicle in the event that your battery dies, or if your coworker has a battery that dies on their vehicle, having one of these battery packs in your truck will be fantastic to make sure you're good, but not only you, if you encounter folks on the road that need help, you could help them with the dead battery. This specific battery pack also comes with a air compressor. So if you have tire issues and you need to fill up, this could help you with that. So I highly recommend carrying one of these battery packs with you at all times, but very specifically in the winter when batteries are prone to dying due to the colder weather. So moving over from the right side of my tailgate to the left side of my tailgate, I've got some recovery gear on the left and some lighting here in the middle. If you don't have extra lights or a headlamp or flashlight in your truck, I'd highly recommend you get one and you put it in there for the entire year, but very specifically for the winter when those daylight hours are short. Oftentimes everybody thinks about having the tools to fix the problems, but they don't think about being able to see at night or in a darker hour when you don't have lights on the side of the road or on a trail. And so that's why I carry a construction light, which is very bright, and then a smaller light that's a flashlight or a headlamp like this. Both which last very long, and this one has rechargeable batteries, so you can bring extra batteries along. Highly recommend carrying some sort of lighting if you don't already, and it could be just as simple as a bright flashlight. So the last item that I think folks should just naturally have in your Jeep at all times is some sort of recovery gear. I have a soft shackle here and a tow strap, and these can be used in the event that you got off the side of the road, or if you see somebody else that needs help getting back onto the road. And so this is a long recovery strap. I have more of them inside the Jeep, and I have a couple more soft shackles. But just to illustrate the point is having some sort of recovery system, whether it be a strap or a soft shackle, so that someone can pull you out if you're stuck, or if you see somebody that needs help, you then have the equipment to help them out. And so in summary, these are just the things that I think you should carry as a pure basic safety mechanism to keep your Jeep good to go outside of your normal safety equipment that you keep. So while this isn't a conclusive list, it's definitely the list that I typically stick to as the bare minimum for carrying things in my Jeep. And so for me in Ohio, I find that these things work very well, and I've had to use them a couple times, and they've definitely been worth it for carrying them in the Jeep. The other thing I like about them is they're not massive. I don't need necessarily a big toolbox in the back of my bed, and most of them actually fit underneath the seat in that tray storage that's built in from the Jeep factory. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed and you do want to see more content, hit that subscribe button. And if you have other ideas or thoughts, put them in the comments below. I try my best to respond to them in a timely fashion. Thanks so much for watching, guys, and we'll see you in the next one. See ya!